My talk is going to be a little bit brief. I just wanted to extend the conversation that we have already started pertaining to the book that we're reading, Mindsets. I'm going to stretch the conversation so that we focus on a specific aspect of mindset which deals with perspective, right? The way we look at things. I think I'm convinced Kuti, the way you look at things is the most important aspect that will determine your failure in life or your success. All right? Let us forget about the growth mindset and the fixed mindset for now. Okay, that's just one of the most important aspects. But this particular perspective issue is dealing with the way we are looking at this book and how we are interpreting it. All right, and especially as it relates to my events amoyo. All right, there are certain things in life that don't have the possibility of having two states that are true at the same time. We need oxygen to be alive, and then somebody say we don't need oxygen to be alive. Those are two opposing statements, and they cannot be true at the same time, right? For example, you guys started bringing the example of religion when we were dealing with the book and mindset, right? The question of who created this world or how this world came to be, do you think there can be two or three possibilities that are true at the same time? Yes? So it could be like you came here by evolution, and it could be true that God created it, right? It's either one. It's either one? All right, those are some of the most important truths that as a person now you need to sit down and say, okay, so what is the truth? All right, because I can come here, start my religion today, and conjecture some crazy stuff about how the world came to be. It is the responsibility of every citizen of the world to fight to get to the bottom of everything and be like, okay, you know what? This is the truth, because reality is not going to adjust itself to fit the way I perceive it. Right? That's just an example. As I was saying, many affect somebody would get rejection today, or somebody would be in a relationship, and then that relationship would end. The same situation happening to two different people, somebody would interpret it, I'm a total failure, and I've failed. If this guy doesn't want me, and this year I think we've had those instances. Yeah. Secondary school girl committing suicide, the way she perceived that situation was good. I cannot live without this person. All right, but certain people, hearts are getting broken every day. It's a whole massacre going on around you. But you see people waking up and be like, okay, you know what, I'll pull myself up, and some now just gotten used to it. Like, you break up with them today, in 2 hours time, they are back on their feet, all right? Let's look for the other one, all right? Some people would take 6 months to heal through that process. But the reason or the reaction that we do because of these events is always affected or determined by our perspective, all right? Now, the perspective that I want to talk about today is the amount of time, resources, and effort that we allocate kuzintu. I feel like most of us are confused most of the time. We are not seeing things the way they are. The way things are, we have a twisted idea about how that situation is, right? So sometimes because of that, we are paying more money, we are spending more time, we are giving more efforts to a thing that is minor. And that is one of the things that I think is a big problem that I observe personally. Okay, if I don't have clarity of mind as I'm going into the day, you can be guaranteed that whatever is happening in that day, I will not achieve what I want. I'll end up maybe spending 2 hours watching a basketball game when I was supposed to be doing something that will contribute to my growth in my career. All right, now, mental clarity, I just wanted to give 6 strategies that we can use to gain mental clarity. All right, the first one is you need to clarify what is important. You need to clarify what is important in terms of your goals. in terms of your aspirations as a person, in terms of your vision. Now I understand that it's not everybody who can just wake up and say, okay, I've figured out my vision for life. Now that is a process that you have to go through. You need to see what you love, what you enjoy doing, what can bring you money, you know, what we learned from Ikigai, right? Yeah, but that process, that clarity of saying, well, okay, this is what I want. When you determine what you want, it will be easier for you to say no to a lot of things. I remember in college, we had this guy, we were in the same class, and this, literally he was famous for just following whatever people were doing. So he would meet you coming from the market, and he was getting out of the campus, you guys are going into the, or you're going out of the campus, he's coming in, and then you just, guys, where are you going? Like, we're going to the market. Let me just go there. Like, we literally talked about, like, I said, it's like everything that's going on, he jumps on it. But I can tell you, Gudi, sadly, that is the reality for most of us. We follow trends, we get addicted to social media when we know, Gudi, we have some dreams and goals that we need to be pursuing. And because of clarity, because of the lack of clarity of what we want, that's where we end up just following the bandwagon. All right? The second strategy is you need to get quiet and meditate. Okay, is there somebody else who want to chime in with a reflection on her question? Someone have it? Do you know what it? Okay, she's saying, let's say today you have clarified, this is what I want. And then a week later, you say, I was kidding myself. What was I fooling? I'm different. I'm somebody else, and I would like to change focus. Like, what do you do to maintain that clarity? Or what do you do to make sure that you're not shifty like that? Is that? Yes.
When you're getting clarity in something,
look
at all the aspects of, when you're defining clarity in something, look at all the aspects of your life that you're trying to change. Mm-hmm. What is your focus, or what change are you trying to bring about? In what areas is your life going to change? And through that, align that aspect to each and every aspect of your life, right? So whether it's your finances, whether it's your business, whether it's your mindset or anything else, does that change you're about to bring, how will it affect each and every one of these sectors? If still not clear, then go back to the drawing board. When you have a clear objective on how that will flow in all those aspects, then you know what you have and what you're about to bring about will bring in harmony and not disruption or doubt as you proceed, because change is inevitable, right?
Yeah.
Certain things can change over time. Your finances will change, whatever. But as long as that change still follows a certain trend, you are guaranteed at least to have a clear goal.
Yeah, and also just to add to Kondwani, like, it's okay to change your mind, right? If you say, oh, today my priority is this for this week, and then later on you're like, I'm not good at math. Let me try to do karate, That, and actually, that I think that's encouraged in some instances, because it gives you experiences of how you enjoy something. And I think this is the advice I can go to people who are still like trying to identify or find themselves, who are still younger. If you're in my old head, like for those who are still trying to figure out who they are, it's encouraged for you guys to do as many things as possible. Do sports, do karate, do maths, go to book club meetings, go to every other place. You may never know where you find yourself as a person. Okay, space in the thrive. So it's okay to change your mind, just as long as you don't do it as often as women change their clothes, right? Just to make sure there's no confusion there. All right? Right. I was talking about the first point about getting clarity. I think I forgot one sub-aspect about it. We don't have intentionality as we're going into the day. All right? Most of us, how many of us wake up every day and write the to-do list on a diary or in a notebook? How many of us? Like daily. Lisa, Timothy, Integrity, Osborne. We're getting freestyle, right? Okay. All right. But I can tell you, like, I'm not trying to throw shade kwa anthu amene simapanga. Ineso I'm guilty of that. Kuti nthawi zambiri ndimata kungodzuka kuti tsiku latakale nthawi yabwera tiye tingoyambapo. But trust me, I've observed kuti the days that I do that, I become less productive. I'm like all over the place. So I'm always on my phone responding to WhatsApp messages, literally waiting for a WhatsApp message. But when I have a to-do list, okay, list I put it on my desk and then I start one by one. And that helps me to focus and be more productive. So try this trick. Apart from just defining your goals, your long-term vision and everything else, on a micro level, even if you haven't identified what your goal is, I'm sure right now you're doing something. Make sure you have a to-do list every day. And write it the night before, so that when you wake up, your mind is already programmed. Okay, I said, these are the non-negotiables that I need to achieve. Otherwise, when you don't do that, and you know the worst resource you can waste in this life is time. Because you'll never get it back. This moment that we have, if we waste it, we'll never get this time back. So, I get sad when I see myself losing time like that. The second thing is meditation. Find time to meditate, even if it's just for like 10 minutes, because meditation helps you clarify your life and sort things, in an orderly manner, so that you don't spend time with people who are actually sucking your energy or spending time on things that are taking away from you than feeding into you. All right. So Brian Tracy said you have to meditate every day. Like every day, you need that clarity. Okay, what were the wins today? I like this. I'm sure most of you follow sports, right? Football, basketball, whatever the case may be. You find out these guys, they are not just looking at the score. They go and look at every other detail. Okay, how was the possession? Okay, I was interested, this doctor, Michael Jordan, he was actually counting the number of steps that Michael Jordan was taking either to the right or to the left. Okay, Michael Jordan in this game took like 2,000 steps to the right. That means mwendo wako wakuje needs more treatment than the right one. The left one. You saw that micro level can only be identified and be addressed if you sit down and try to take stock of your life through meditation. All right. The other thing is writing. Sometimes if you have a problem, if you write it, you can be guaranteed 50% of it is solved. Because when you start writing, you start pushing yourself to clarify the problem in a way that can be made clear. So the moment you define what the problem is, you have actually gone halfway in solving it. But most of us, even if we read because we are the symptoms of the problem. But when you start going deep down, people say, the problem would see this is just a manifestation of the deeper problem. For example, what is your problem? My problem is when I see girls, I can't control myself. I want to go out with every girl. There are those guys, right? So you find somebody can say that is their problem, but when you start clarifying what the problem is, you find this person has a problem with self-control. The discipline of saying, let me respect it and accept it and be contented with what you have. So when you start writing, it helps clarify what the issue is, right? You need to read a lot if you want to have mental clarity. Okay? And this reading is not just about, but in whatever profession that you find yourself, make sure you research as much as possible, because when you go to meetings, problems you never anticipated. But because you know that subject so well, you're able to stand on your feet and give solutions on how people are going to be able to deal with. And if you read a lot, for example, let's say you're working in digital education, which is a space that we do in one of the things that we have. If you understand the research, the statistics of whatever is going on, then you have a mental clarity that would help you to craft solutions to the problems at hand. So even if you're dealing with cosmetics, read about the new trends that are happening in cosmetics. Go around and find out how many people, for example, in my area are having salons. Because if you ignore that part, you are starting a solution, maybe a perfect solution, but in the wrong location. Because you find out it's already saturated. There's a lot of people. That's why the people encourage people to do market research, right? Before you do something else, go to the market and research. But if you neglect this aspect of reading, and this is just mainly about doing background checks, you are misaligning yourself and doing things that nobody finds attractive. And at the end of the day, the result is failure. All right? This is my personal favorite, number 5. It's called recognizing cognitive biases. My cognitive biases. This is something that plagues all of us. The moment you buy a Nissan Juke, those cars, you start seeing a lot of Nissan Jukes. All of a sudden you'll be like, oh, go myself, you want me. Okay, all right. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow, okay. That's interesting. The moment you buy, let's say, a Toyota Corolla, all of a sudden you start paying attention to Toyota Corollas. That is a cognitive bias. It's called a confirmation bias. So the confirmation bias works once you convince yourself that something is true, for example, you find all the evidence that confirms that thing is true and start automatically ignoring the evidence that shows you that thing cannot be true. You know? And that is very common. Monkania, my religion, right? Like, you know, there's always this fight. You know, it's SDS fighting against Jehovah's Witnesses, Roman Catholic, Islam is fighting against Christian, why? You know, those things happen, right? Once you adopt a certain viewpoint, you start automatically your brain starts sifting for evidence that confirms that thing to be true. Now, you as a smart person, you need to sit down and ask yourself an honest question. All the evidence that I've been exposed to are confirming zona, and I've neglected this aspect. So my cognitive biases are ambiguous. I'll share a link on the group. I think it's very important that you go just check them out. There are about like 26 of them. My cognitive, any other person who knows any other cognitive bias here? So there's the confirmation bias, there is a recessive bias. For example, perform, and then we're trying to judge who is the best performer. Usually people will remember the last performer and then maybe the applause that they got. So that is a bias that you have to deal with and fight with. Because my biases, they get into your head and prevent you from seeing things as clear as they are. The last one is try to avoid multitasking. All right? Multitasking, there's no such a thing as multitasking, in fact, because your brain can only deal with one signal at a time. Unless those signals have been automated. I can chew gum and walk at the same time. You know, but when it comes to my processes, the brain has to concentrate whether you're writing something. You are just switching. The brain is just switching, maybe 3 seconds doing this, 3 seconds doing that. And once you start doing that, you end up confusing the brain. And then once the brain goes confused, the resulting is lack of mental clarity. Or X the current boyfriend. You see? So my mental clarity, guys, I'm affect on a daily basis. For example, you know how people you've been in a relationship with somebody who's been very abusive to you, right? Fast forward 2 years later, waiwala. Untuja just hit you up, hey, I just wanted to check on you. Game over, you see? And that is something that can help you if you let me revise, look at this person, sit down and meditate. Remember how this thing felt when you were going through it. If you remember how exactly you felt, you would never go back. For example, I went to a book club, this is what I learned. Or today I was with my girlfriend, she says something like, this is how I felt. 5 years later, Taiwala. Going back into the people change. Yeah, and this is something very important. I think, you know, I think we've walked away from the culture of keeping a diary and, you know, like chronicling our emotions. That is very important. You know, the last book club we were doing these challenges, right? And you know, the challenge that I picked was good. I'm going to take one daring goal, and I'm going to try to achieve it before the end of the month, right? So my accountability partner was Dr. Valeda, who was doing the masterclass yesterday, right? So I said, I'm going to write a book about myself. I started writing the book, but when I started writing and forced myself to remember certain things that happened like 10 years ago, I almost shed tears because I remember that there were certain people that were there for me in ways that I cannot even begin to thank them now. But because I never wrote it down and I never go back and meditate on it, and immediately, like, I literally gave that person a call. I'm like, say, how are you doing? How is everything? You know, is there something that you're struggling with? Is there something in some way that I can help? All right. If I know that our brain is tuned because of our brain is wired to forget things quickly. But if you take the time and write, trust me, you will not find yourself in a position where you are treating people that you're not supposed to be treating in a different way. So those are the 6 ways that I just thought I should share today about not cognitive, but mental clarity. Your mind is your biggest asset. If it is clear, it will help you see the way properly and achieve what you want to do. But if it's not clear, you find good use in baggage. You end up maybe mistreating people who have the most value in your life. You are not able to see things the way they are, and then when those people leave, you start to say, hey, now that person is no longer there because you never treated them the way they are supposed to be treated. Why? Because there was no clarity in your mind to see things the way they were. That's where I stop.